Chosen one. Before you decide that July 20th and July 21st are just two more ordinary days, I want you to pause for a moment. Because history has a strange way of hiding life's greatest turning points inside days that appear completely normal. The people living through them rarely recognize their importance while they're happening. They wake up believing nothing has changed. They follow the same routines. They speak to the same people. They carry the same responsibilities. Yet somewhere beyond what their eyes can see, heaven quietly begins rearranging everything. These next 48 hours carry that exact kind of energy. Not because the world around you is suddenly becoming different, but because you are. And perhaps that is why you've been feeling something you haven't been able to explain. Maybe you've noticed an unusual silence growing inside your heart. Maybe you've started questioning dreams that once felt certain. Maybe you've begun pulling away from people without anger or resentment, simply because your spirit no longer feels at home where it once belonged. If any of that sounds familiar, don't dismiss it as overthinking. Don't convince yourself you're imagining things. Throughout history, every chosen one has experienced a season where heaven quietly separated them from the version of themselves that could no longer enter the future prepared for them. That season rarely feels exciting. It feels confusing before it becomes clear. It feels lonely before it becomes peaceful. It feels uncertain before it becomes purposeful. But make no mistake, this is not the beginning of your downfall. It is the beginning of your transformation. For weeks, heaven has been working in places your physical eyes could never reach. While you were wondering why certain doors refused to open, heaven was strengthening the foundation beneath the one that truly belongs to you. While you questioned why relationships changed without explanation, heaven was removing emotional weight your future could never carry. While you believed your progress had stopped, heaven was quietly preparing your spirit for responsibilities your old identity would never have been able to sustain. Think about a master architect preparing to build something that will stand for generations. The first months are spent below the surface. Workers dig deeper and deeper into the ground. To everyone watching from the outside, it looks like nothing is happening. Some even begin wondering whether the project has failed because all they can see is dirt being removed. But the architect never measures progress by what is visible above the ground. He measures progress by the strength of the unseen foundation. Heaven has been treating your life the same way. Every difficult conversation, every delayed opportunity, every lonely season, every unanswered prayer, every unexpected ending, none of it has been wasted. Every hidden moment has been adding another layer to the foundation beneath your destiny. That is why July 20th and July 21st feel so spiritually significant. They are not simply another chapter. They are the moment when hidden preparation begins quietly revealing its purpose. Mercury continues its retrograde journey, asking you to reflect instead of rushing forward, while the moon moves through Libra, inviting you to create balance instead of reacting from fear. Together, they create an atmosphere where heaven whispers one powerful question into every chosen one's heart. What if the greatest breakthrough you've been praying for is not waiting in another place, but waiting behind the decision you've been avoiding? Think carefully about that. How many times have you asked heaven for a miracle while secretly refusing to let go of the life that miracle would require you to leave behind? How many times have you prayed for a new beginning while continuing to protect an old identity? Chosen one? There comes a season where heaven gently asks you to stop mourning chapters that have already fulfilled their purpose. Every season has an assignment. Some seasons teach you faith, others teach you patience, others teach you discernment. But eventually, a season arrives where heaven says, now it's time to build. And perhaps July 20th and July 21st quietly mark the beginning of that season for you. Chosen one, before we continue any deeper, I want to ask you for one small favor. If these words have already reached your heart, if something inside you told you this message was meant to find you today, then take just 1 second to subscribe to this channel and leave a like on this video. You're not simply helping this channel grow, you're helping this message reach another chosen one who may be praying for exactly these words today. And if you truly believe that God's timing is greater than your own, write these words in the comments. I trust divine timing. Don't type it for me. Type it as a declaration over your own life. Every subscription, And every comment reminds the algorithm to place this message in front of someone whose spirit may need it today. Now, stay with me, because what heaven begins revealing about July 20th and July 21st from this point forward becomes even more extraordinary. There is something else that heaven has been quietly preparing you to understand. Most people spend years asking God to change their circumstances while completely overlooking the fact that He is changing them. That is always the greater miracle. Circumstances can change overnight and disappear just as quickly. But a transformed spirit carries blessings differently. A transformed heart recognizes opportunities that fear would have ignored. A transformed mind no longer mistakes delay for rejection. That transformation has already begun inside you. Can you feel it? The things that once disturbed your peace no longer carry the same authority. The opinions that once shaped your confidence have started fading into the background. The need to explain yourself to people who never intended to understand you has become strangely unimportant. That isn't emotional distance. It is spiritual maturity. It is heaven teaching you that your identity was never meant to be built upon temporary approval. It was always meant to be rooted in divine purpose. And as these two remarkable days continue unfolding, you may begin noticing that your greatest victory isn't something happening around you at all. It is the quiet realization that the person who once begged heaven for another sign has finally become the person who recognizes heaven's hand even in complete silence. There comes a moment, chosen one, when heaven quietly stops asking whether you're ready to leave the past behind and begins asking whether you're ready to fully embrace the future it has been preparing for you. Those are two completely different questions. Leaving the past requires courage. Embracing the future requires trust. And trust has always been one of the greatest spiritual tests any chosen soul will ever face. Because trust asks you to keep walking even when the entire road has not yet been revealed. That is exactly the spiritual atmosphere surrounding July 20th and July 21st. Heaven is not demanding that you understand everything. Heaven is simply asking you to believe that every hidden season has been leading somewhere far greater than your current vision can fully comprehend. Think about every time you believed your story was ending. Every prayer that seemed to disappear into silence. Every opportunity that slipped through your hands just when you thought your breakthrough had finally arrived. Every relationship that ended without the closure you desperately searched for. At the time, each one felt like a loss. Yet today, if you're completely honest with yourself, can you see how many of those endings quietly protected you? Can you see how many of those disappointments redirected your life towards something better than what you originally wanted? That is one of heaven's greatest mysteries. We often call something a setback simply because we cannot yet see where it is leading. But heaven has never judged your life by the chapter you happen to be standing in. It has always seen the completed story. Imagine a traveler climbing a mountain through thick clouds. Halfway up the journey, visibility disappears. The path becomes uncertain. Every step feels slower than the last. Looking around, the traveler begins believing they have lost their direction because they cannot see the summit anymore. But the guide standing above the clouds sees something entirely different. The traveler has never left the path. In fact, they are closer to the summit than ever before. The clouds only prevented the traveler from seeing what the guide already knew. Spiritually, that is exactly where many chosen ones find themselves between July 20th and July 21st. You believe heaven has gone quiet because you cannot clearly see what comes next. But heaven has never lost sight of your destination. The clouds may hide the view. They do not change the direction. This is why Mercury's reflective energy remains so powerful during these days. It gently asks you to stop measuring your future through the lens of your past. Every painful experience has a voice. Betrayal whispers that trusting again is dangerous. Failure whispers that trying again is pointless. Delay whispers that perhaps your time will never come. But those voices do not speak truth. They only speak memory. Heaven is inviting you to exchange memory for wisdom. There is a tremendous difference. Memory keeps replaying what happened. Wisdom understands why it happened and chooses not to remain imprisoned by it. That transformation quietly becomes one of the greatest miracles taking place inside your spirit. As the moon continues moving through Libra, another lesson begins unfolding. Libra is not simply about relationships. It is about alignment. Alignment between your faith and your actions. Alignment between what you pray for and what you believe you deserve. Alignment between the future heaven has shown you and the choices you continue making every single day. Chosen one. Perhaps that is why your spirit has become increasingly uncomfortable with things that once felt normal. You are no longer able to settle for environments that constantly steal your peace. You are no longer willing to remain in conversations that slowly weaken your faith. You are no longer interested in opportunities that require you to compromise your values in order to receive them. That is not because you've become difficult. It is because heaven has quietly raised your standards. And whenever heaven raises your standards, it also begins raising the quality of the people, opportunities, and assignments it prepares to place into your life. There is something extraordinary about spiritual growth that very few people ever understand. The higher heaven calls you, the less you feel the need to announce your progress. Real maturity becomes quieter. There was once a time when you wanted everyone to notice your growth. Now, all you desire is to remain aligned with God's purpose. There was once a time when proving yourself seemed incredibly important. Now, protecting your peace matters far more than winning another argument. That change did not happen because life became easier. It happened because heaven slowly replaced your need for validation with the confidence that comes from knowing who you are. And perhaps that is the hidden gift of July 20th and July 21st. Not another spectacular miracle, but the quiet realization that your identity no longer depends on circumstances that constantly change. It rests upon something eternal, something heaven has been patiently building inside you through every hidden season you've ever survived. Chosen one. Perhaps the greatest deception the enemy ever whispers into a person's heart is not that God has abandoned them. It is that they have somehow missed their moment forever. He convinces people that because life did not unfold according to their schedule, the opportunity has already passed. He tells them they waited too long, failed too many times, made too many mistakes, or wandered too far from the path to ever recover. But heaven has never measured your life by human calendars. Heaven measures your life by divine appointments. And divine appointments can never be stolen by delay. They can never be canceled by disappointment. They can never be destroyed by a season of waiting. If God has written something into your destiny, no amount of darkness can erase what heaven has already spoken. That is why July 20th and July 21st carry such a powerful spiritual invitation. They are quietly reminding every chosen one that your future has never been hanging by a thread. It has been resting securely in the hands of the one who saw the end before the beginning ever existed. Perhaps this is why your spirit has felt strangely restless over the past few days. Not restless because something is wrong. Restless because something is ready. There is an enormous difference. A seed hidden beneath the soil eventually reaches a moment where remaining underground becomes more uncomfortable than breaking through the surface. From the outside, that breakthrough appears sudden. But the seed knows the truth. The breakthrough was months in the making. Every drop of rain, every ray of sunlight, every silent day beneath the earth was quietly preparing for the exact moment life would finally become visible. Chosen one. Heaven has been growing something inside you with that same patience. The courage you carry today was built through battles nobody else witnessed. The wisdom you now possess came from questions nobody else could answer for you. The peace slowly replacing your fear was born in nights when you learned to trust God even without visible evidence. Nothing happened overnight. Everything was growing beneath the surface. This is why your perspective has changed so dramatically. There was once a time when you measured success by how quickly things happened. Now you measure success by whether your spirit remains aligned with God's purpose. There was once a time when every delay made you anxious. Now delays simply remind you that heaven is still arranging details your eyes cannot yet see. There was once a time when rejection made you question your value. Now rejection often reminds you that not every open door belongs to your calling. That transformation is one of the clearest signs that your hidden season is coming to completion. Heaven has quietly replaced panic with patience, comparison with contentment, and uncertainty with quiet confidence. Imagine an orchestra preparing for a magnificent performance. Before the audience arrives, every instrument is carefully tuned. Some finish early. Others require more adjustment. If one violin became impatient because the piano was already prepared, the entire performance would suffer. Every instrument follows its own process because every instrument has a different role to play. Human destiny follows exactly the same principle. Stop measuring your preparation against someone else's timetable. Their assignment is different. Their calling is different. Their lessons are different. Heaven has never compared your journey to another person's. Only people do that. God has always focused on preparing you for your purpose. And because your purpose is unique, your preparation has also been unique. As July 21st quietly unfolds, the moon in Libra continues emphasizing harmony, relationships, and balance, gently reminding you that the healthiest future is never built through constant striving. It is built through alignment. Mercury's reflective influence still encourages careful thinking before quick action, inviting you to ask one final question before moving forward. Does this decision bring me closer to the person God is creating, or closer to the fears He has already helped me overcome? Chosen one, that single question may protect you from years of unnecessary struggle. Every meaningful future is shaped one decision at a time, one act of forgiveness, one healthy boundary, one quiet moment of obedience, one choice to trust God's timing instead of forcing your own. So before this message ends, carry this truth deep within your spirit. You are not standing at the end of your journey. You are standing at the edge of a new beginning that heaven has been preparing long before you ever recognized it. Keep protecting your peace. Keep listening when the world becomes noisy. Keep honoring the quiet voice of wisdom over the loud voice of fear. And above all, remember this, chosen one. Your destiny has never depended on perfect circumstances. It has always depended on a faithful heart. The same God who carried you through every hidden season is already walking ahead of you into everything that waits beyond July 21st. One day you'll look back at these seemingly ordinary days and realize they were never ordinary at all. They were the quiet doorway through which heaven led you from the person you used to be into the person you were always created to become.